The ball sails through the air and lands in my hands. As an opponent lunges towards me, I push down on his back and send him crashing into the ground. A man twice my size collides with my waist, but I don't fall over. My teammate had come up from behind me and is now pushing my back, and just then, a second teammate joins him. Before long, I have 7 people on either side of me pushing me back and forth. My legs leave the ground. I'm at the will of the maul. I hold the ball tight against my chest like this. Sure enough, the opposing force gets overwhelmed and falls to the dirt. We had won the maul, and we later won the game. After winning the game, we engaged in friendly conversation, banter, and praise with the people we were just fighting against. That happened during a match against Gonzaga College High School in the spring of 2017. That was the first year my team had been founded. That was my first time playing a contact sport, and that was my first year playing rugby. Hi, my name is Patrick Vernon, and I've been playing contact 15s rugby for 3 years now, and have experience in every position. To elaborate, 15s just means there are 15 players from either team on the field at one time for a total of 30 players. I'm only going to be discussing rugby union today and not rugby legion, as I'm unfamiliar with the latter. Rugby is an internationally recognized sport, with 857 million viewers of the 2019 Rugby World Cup. It's also been featured in the Olympics 5 times in the past, and will be featured in the upcoming 2021 Olympic Games in Tokyo. Rugby is a surprisingly safe sport that has positions for people of any body type, and is arguably more fast-paced than American football. It's for those 3 reasons that I believe you should try rugby with your local team. The first thought that comes to people's mind when the topic of rugby is discussed is that rugby is football without pads. This is such a common sentiment that Wikipedia even has an article discussing their similarities. I would like to start by breaking this oversimplification and explaining why it paints a bad reputation for rugby. Rugby is intrinsically nothing like American football. This is seen most when tackling. Most people have reservations about rugby based on the dangers and risks associated with tackling without pads. It sounds like an easy way to break a bone or get concussed. But rugby has regulations and rules that keep both the tackled person and the tackler safe. One such rule is that tackles can only occur in a specific region of the body, specifically the stomach to thigh area. Tackles must go straight to the ground, and the tackler must fully wrap their arms around the opponent. Alongside this, only the player with the ball can be tackled. This keeps tackles from resulting in headbutts or dog piles, and from tackles happening spontaneously across the field. And as long as a player falls correctly, they're completely safe. Now, I know what you're thinking. What happens if somebody doesn't follow the rules? While it is true that this can lead to serious injury, there was no lack of foresight on this specific occasion. Light padding can actually be worn in rugby, including helmets called scrum caps and padded undershirts. These would help to soften any blow that comes your way, be it legal or illegal. On the subject of illegal tackles, they result in fouls, which heavily detriment your team. An offense that would result in a yellow card penalizes the player and the team by taking them completely out of the game for 10 minutes. That is a 14 versus 15 game for 10 minutes. 2 yellow cards or an egregious enough offense, that results in a red card, permanently out of the game. Now, these penalties heavily deter the players from making illegal tackles and help to keep you safe. Now, should the deterrence and the padding not work, you will most likely get injured. Now, if you get injured in a rugby match, USA Rugby, the organization rugby is run by in the United States, provides third-party liability insurance and rugby accident insurance to every player who registers as a final means to provide safety for its players. Now, perhaps you're a smaller person with a lighter body, and the idea of being tackled at all turns you away from the sport. Well, I have news for you. The positions of rugby are designed for people of all statures and strengths to be able to play comfortably. To put it simply, the field is divided into two groups of players, forwards and backs. Forwards are generally bulkier people of greater weights. This group consists of the first 8 of 15 players, starting with the inside prop and ending with the 8-man. Forwards are supposed to be hard to knock down, and they make contact often. They're most notable for their role in scrums, a penalty play where all of the forwards on both sides push against each other in competition for a ball in the middle. This is also where they get their position names from. To summarize, if you're a bulkier person or you're heavier set, you belong with the forwards. The other 7 of 15 players are called the backs. Now the backs are a nifty group characterized by agility over power. Now generally they're shorter and leaner, but the determining factor for backs is speed. For the job of a back is to take advantage of openings in the defense and run to the end zone to score a try. So, if you're lighter and faster, you belong with the backs. Now, if you don't fit either of these descriptions, you can still participate as a flexible player, able to operate well in either group. A player who can substitute for almost any position is incredibly valuable. Now, with these 3 options, any person can find their place in a rugby team quickly and can play the sport well in that position, including you. Now, with these new positions in mind, perhaps you've drawn similarities to football. Perhaps you've thought to yourself, this is just football. Both have players that break the defense and score touchdowns or tries or whatever the rugby guys call them. Both have these big guys that are supposed to tackle each other. Both have similar balls even. While rugby may have many of the same elements as football, the way these elements are used greatly differentiates the sports. As previously discussed, tackling is completely different, where rugby tackles are lower and only one person can be tackled at a time. The biggest distinction, however, happens after a tackle. In football, after the ball carrier is tackled, the play ends and it counts as a down. On the other hand, when the ball carrier is tackled in rugby, 2 things can occur, either a ruck or a maul. A maul is what I described in my opening. Both of these calls don't stop play at all. When a ruck or a maul happens, players must reorganize within seconds. This creates a more fast-paced experience, where the only time to play is stopped is when a foul is called or a try is scored. No time for water breaks or commercials. The constant flow of the game requires quick thinking and improvisation from you and your teammates and discourages organized setups like the plays in football. This makes for more constant action and thus constant entertainment for both players and watchers of the sport. Today, I discussed 3 main reasons I think you should try rugby and attempted to waive any reservations you had about the sport. I discussed how the rules of rugby will keep you safe and protected, as well as insured. I also discussed the positions of rugby and how they guarantee that you will be important and valued, no matter your physique. The third thing I discussed was the fast-paced nature of rugby that will keep you engaged and entertained. Playing rugby is incredibly fun and complex, and the bonds you make with your team will last a lifetime. I hope I get to see you on my team. Thank you.